there's a section in the third movement where the whole thematic melody offsets itself.
Okay.
And then on one of the times it repeats, the piano is offsetting of me offsetting.
Okay. Perfect.
So now the piano is playing off beats, but they're on down beats. And so the pianist and I were like, okay, I'm going to ignore you, you're going to ignore me, we're going to play it in time and hope we land in the right spot.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the big, like, masterwork piece.
That was the stake of the recital. Okay.
And I did it last.
Okay. Perfect.
Was that a good plan? I don't know. It was a cool ending. But I listened to a recording of Brian Heck playing, and he's chopped at the end of it on one of his recitals. Like, Brian Heck can't do this. How am I going to do this? So, it worked. But I played Gangbusters as my opener.
Okay.
Nice and simple, loud, fun, exciting. I did the Hidashi Meditation.
Right.
Almost entirely because I needed another piece. We were looking at my program and I was like, this is like a little too short. So I just like throw that on there, perfect length.
Yeah.
I did the Vaughan Williams 6 Studies in English Folk Song.
Yep.
I did it on tenor.
Oh, okay.
So
Great.
it's like I need something on tenor.
Yeah.
And then I did the quartet that Dr. Leslie did, or premiered at ITF, Dancing Light.
Cool. Very cool.
Which, like, I don't know, I'm not like super happy with the programming. I think programming is generally one of my strengths, but I think the Hidashi kind of sticks out a little bit in that program. It's a lot of modern.
Yeah.
And then it's like Vaughan Williams folk song.
Or you could look at it as like you have a variety, you know? I don't know.
I think it's just like so much of it was leaning one way, and I think this went too far the other direction more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's like I think there just could have been something that fits a little better.
Well, something to keep in mind for the next time, right?
Right.
Like and that's kind of the thing. It's like every single recital you do, you learn something from it. And,
right.
And you know, obviously in this case we're talking about programming, but you know, of course you've learned a ton whenever you prepare a recital.
1 or 2 things.
Right.
In there. Yeah, I think it went well. I had a couple of mind slips on the Vaughan Williams, which I'm still angry about. Maybe anger is a strong emotion to feel, but I don't know. It was in tenor clef.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at it, and I was like, I don't know what note that is.
I just...
Yeah. I was like, I don't know what note I'm supposed to be playing right now. And it happened like twice. I was like, what is happening? I was like, I've never like... I mean, I'm not like the best tenor clef reader. I play bass. I don't read it that often.
Right.
But I consider myself fluent.
Right.
And I practiced.
Well,
and it just happened, and I was like, that's not good.
Well,
and I missed a page turn in one of them, and I had to stop playing during a continuous line. I was like, that sucks, but, you know.
Well, all things that, like, you'll remember as you know, work towards the next one.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, so what's coming up for you? What's the plan?
Well, hopefully I finish this degree in the semester.
Okay, so we got one more semester left? Okay.
And then
with the Masters in Performance?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
And then I will be taking DMA auditions. I'm looking mostly at Boulder.
Okay.
Memphis is on the list, but I'd like to stay in Colorado, is how I'll put it.
Okay.
Schools, as I was applying, schools were slowly being cut from the list. It started at 5, and then I only applied to 2.
Okay.
And I think honestly, if the deadline was in January, I would apply to 1.
Okay.
I'm not like super sold on the degree yet.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like
that was going to be my next question. Like, what's the plan?
Yeah. So I mean, I do want to get a DMA. I just don't know if this is a next year plan. So I'm like, I'll take the auditions. I'm in the area. My recital's done, so I'll have easy semester. Right. So I'm like, I'll take the auditions. That way I can at least make an informed decision about what I do next year. If I get a really good offer to school I want to go to, I'll take it. Right. But, the offer's not strong, and I'm like, well, take a couple gap years, get really good at the trombone. Honestly, I'm thinking I might flip my ratio. I'm doing, like, all of my ensemble playing is on bass right now, and, like, 60-40 split for bass and tenor. And I think I might flip that, because, bass is heavy. It hurts my wrist a lot. Okay. And it at the beginning of the semester, because I have this brace, because my wrist is made of paper. Yep. And so it transfers the weight Yeah. Yeah. But like now it's like after like 6 hours at the beginning of the semester, which is a long time.
Oh yeah.
But it was also like happening every day.
Right.
And so it was like now I'm feeling pain in my arm, my elbow, my hand, and my wrist. And it's like pain. Not like I've played too much, my face is tired.
Right.
It's like this hurts.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, maybe I need to be considering a lighter instrument. Because I can play tenor for just as long without a brace and have no problems in my wrist or my hand. So I'm like, there's other braces I can consider, but I'm like, it's also not a bad plan to just be good at tenor either.
That's true.
So I'm like, I think next semester I'm doing a couple of chamber and solo stuff on tenor, doing like a brass trio. I really want to try and get to play tenor in some kind of large ensemble, but I don't know how realistic that's going to be.
Well,
just because of the person that we have.
You just gotta win the auditions, right?
Yeah. That's
I mean,
problem.
the answer is simple. It's not easy.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Dr. Leslie about it, and it might be more one of those things like, if I don't play bass in these ensembles, who's going to? And the answer is me.
The answer is you.
So,
okay.
It might just be more of like a personnel decision more than a me being good enough at tenor decision.
Right.
But
okay. That's interesting.
There's still some holes in my tenor playing that need to be solved before I worry about doing anything that intensive on it.
Okay.
It's like...
Well, that's really interesting, especially with the pain. If there's pain, it's always bad, right?
And I mean, like, it's after 6 hours. It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time to be playing in a day. But also, like, now that I've been doing it every day, it's like, it's 4.
Yeah.
And, my age starts with a 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happens when that's not true anymore? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm like,
I do.
So I'm like, I kind of want to, like, not necessarily make a career change in any way, but like, maybe prepare to have that decision made for me later.
Okay. So
thing.
Exercising just a little bit of prudence, I think that's a good thing. Just
like expanding my skill set, so if it does become a much more prevalent problem, I have a backup plan and I'm not just suddenly scrambling to try and figure something out.
Right. But, okay. Well, what's the ultimate goal? Like,
play and teach.
Play and teach. Okay.
Yeah, both. Which is why DMA is the path.
Right. So teach at university level and play at orchestral, whatever that job is.
I think when I first made this goal as like a tiny little freshman, it was like 90% playing and 10% teaching, and now those have slowly evened out a little bit. I still think it's playing leaning.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, I'd prefer to play.
Okay.
But, job is a job, and making money playing the trombone is
for sure
all I can ask for.
Yeah, right. For sure. All right. Have you had a lesson with Dr. Tanner?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did. Christian and I, we're both applying at Boulder, so we've kind of just been trading everything at the same time. So we carpooled up there in October and took back-to-back lessons.
Good.
On one random Saturday.
Yeah.
The only Saturday in the year where neither of us had anything going on.
Right.
I think he also had plans that evening anyway. So it's like, we just went up, took a lesson. He's incredibly talented. He's actually been playing more tenor than bass. Seems everyone is.
Right.
Except you. I was talking to Dr. McCain at the beginning of the semester, because he just moved to Memphis. And he was like, yeah, the orchestra I've been playing with for the last 6 months didn't know I played bass. It's like our personnel manager didn't even know I played it.
You're like, well, it's good to have that versatility, right?
Yeah. Which is like, I started on bass. I've never played tenor as a primary.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Technically started on trumpet and then tuba and then bass, but tenor, I've never been a primary tenor player. So a lot of my tenor playing this last couple of years has been like, okay, let's make up this weakness rather than catch something back up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the good news is, like, we both know, yes, there's a huge difference between tenor and bass, but at the end of the day, they're both It's a trombone. It's like they operate similarly. So you can bring everything that you work on your bass to your tenor, right? And obviously vice versa. So
it really started in earnest this summer.
Yeah.
When I was like, okay, I really want to learn tenor. I was like, I'm putting something in my recital for tenor. I need to be good enough to feel good about that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think I was. I don't think my tenor playing was the issue with the Von Williams that I had. But it was like, playing in a clef I don't play in that much, playing in a tessitura I don't play in that much, and a horn I don't play that much. It's like, lots of things, just small things adding up.
Right.
Create brain farts. But
it happens.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. My biggest issues now, it's like, at first it was like not sounding like a middle schooler. It's like just everything's smaller, and so all of the habits I've built up over the last, I don't know, 7 years just don't work. Like even my pedal A's are buzzing outside the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a lot of that to try and work through. But now I think that's less of the problem. It's more consistency and like the higher level stuff, like my lip slurs and the upper range, and my accuracy and close partials is just kind of terrible.
I gotcha.
But, you know.
Well, cool. Well, maybe we can, even though we're going to play some bass today, maybe we can even address some of those things. And because actually I find that, you know, being the opposite of you, being primarily a tenor player, like I'll warm up on bass every day, and it kind of helps me on my tenor side. And so I'll work some of the things that I'm working on my tenor on bigger equipment. So then on tenor, it kind of feels a little bit better. But again, the idea is like these instruments are, yes, they're different and they should sound differently, but they're not all that different, right? We want to make sure that, and we can and we should work on upper register stuff on bass.
I do all the time.
Yeah, good.
Every day.
Good.
One of the things that Dr. Tanner impressed upon me is like, you don't want to sound like a bass player playing a tenor.
Correct.
And vice versa.
Right.
And I think that's actually been kind of a revelation for my bass high range.
Yeah, right.
Is it's like, you know, now I'm playing a lot more tenor and everything's so, I mean, it's just so easy.
Right.
You know, I could play C's and D's on bass. I go to tenor and it's like, oh, I'm overshooting this.
Right. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, it's so easy. I'm playing Rocheuse up an octave just because it's fun. And, you know, I can't do it for very long because I don't play in that range for very long. The endurance just isn't there. But, like, and then I go to bass and I'm like, why am I working so hard for these? Yeah. Why am I working so hard to play this? It's just an A.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. So what do you want to work on today? How can I help you?
So I mentioned.
You gave me some excerpts.
Yeah, and I have my DMA packet.
Solos. Yeah. What is on that list exactly?
So the composite between both schools was 2 solos, 2 etudes, and 5 excerpts.
Okay.
So I'm doing Lebedev and Hidash.
Okay.
Both of pieces I've played on different recitals.
Right.
One more recently than the other. I'm doing Renish, Hungarian, Ride, Creation, and Reingold. Covers all the bases pretty evenly, I think.
Okay. And
then I'm doing, I don't know how familiar you are with the numbering in the tuba version of Blazhevich, but I'm doing 11. It's
Well, I tell you what would you like to work on in particular?
So I was thinking mostly excerpts.
Okay.
Probably Reingold, Creation, and Renish. And then if we have a little extra time, which we probably won't, then I can throw in that Blazhevich etude.
Do you think maybe we could do those backwards?
Yeah, I just said that in the order that my brain thought of them in.
No, meaning, the Blazhevich is yum bum 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 ba. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Why don't we start with something like that, and then we'll get a little bit more specific as we get into the excerpts. Mm-hmm. So yeah, play a few notes.
Oh, this art is cold. I didn't realize how cold my car was. Surely it'll be warm by the end of this.
We'll play a few more notes. You know, like get comfortable and in your warmth, right? Awesome. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's play some music.
We use one of these stands in a long time.
Yeah. set. No problem. No problem.
I'll start from there.
Give me the last 2 bars. No problem. Last 2 bars.
So many brain farts.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good. No problem. All is forgiven. All is forgiven. Right? Because the good news is this isn't the audition. Right? So we're still in the process of working on some of these things. Yeah, man, you got a great sound, really good sense of pitch. Like I was curious how this one's go. It's got some of these like really cool half step intervallic kind of things, and so all that kind of stuff sounded really nice. I want to do a couple things with you. As we're working on this, can we slow the whole thing down so that it is easier, so that we don't have to worry about some of those brain farts, right? And so the idea is that as we're working on it, we want to cultivate this idea of like how easily can we play this, right? You know, you mentioned Brian Hecht earlier, right? You watch him play?
Often, yeah.
Yeah. Does it look like anything that he does is difficult for him?
It's interesting because he always has such intense face.
Right.
But it's never like, it's so just loose.
Right.
It like if you took it up here, it like that looks like the hardest thing he's ever done.
Well, and it's almost like the intensity in the focus is through his like musical intent, right? But in terms of his you know, the mechanics of manipulating this instrument, it is not easy for him. And what I think is interesting about that is that it looks so easy, and I think that's because it is so easy. Right? And so when we're working on these things, and you know, we'll certainly talk about this when we get into some of these excerpts, we want that same level of ease, but we need to start from a place of where it is easy for us, right? You do a lot of really great stuff on the horn, like some really, really nice things, but we got a little tongue tied in there, and what happens is when we get a little, you know, we miss something like this, a level of tension comes in, and then that great, big, beautiful sound that you have, it doesn't go away, but it becomes restrained, right? And so can we go back from the top, and we're going to slow this down, and all I want you to focus on is just playing it as easily as you possibly can. So, and let's take it, let's remove even the piano. Can it be just a nice mezzo forte, and how about yum bing bum bing bing bum bum? I mean, like this should be like almost too easy for you. Here it is. 1 and 2 and boom. Even fuller, please. Bum bum bing bing bum. Yeah, even longer notes too. That sounds great. Yum ba ding bum bum ba yum ba bum bum. Enjoy how easy this is for you. Ding dong be yum ba ha ba yum bum bing bum bing. It should physically feel good while you're playing, right? Already so much better?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. Can we do it one more time? I want it to be even 10% easier, and I want you to even fill up the sound even more. Boom, beam, bum, bum. You're going to see where we're going with this in just a second. Here it is. 1 and 2 and Yum, bing, bum, bing, bing, pop. Nice. Bum, bum, bing, bum, bing, bum, bum, ba, yum, ba, ba, ding, ba, bing, ba, bum, ba, yum, ba, yum. And we can pause there for a second. Great. So already we're getting like your sound when you first started. Again, it's really nice sound, man. It really is. Really nice bass trombone sound. But now we're getting this real pro level quality of resonance in a very dead room, right? Which is really nice. So now the second thing that I want you to do is I want you to see if you can have a little bit more musical direction to all these things. The first time you played, it was all very, very accurate trombone playing. I ask my students this all the time. Do you know who cares about trombone playing?
Nobody.
Well, some of us do.
Yeah, some, but it's mostly the person playing.
Yes, trombone players, right? And so when you first played, I found myself listening to you play the trombone, and I was like, yeah, no, he can play the trombone pretty well. But what I'm not getting a sense of is the other thing is, what does everybody care about?
Right, music.
Music. right? And so this is super interesting because of its harmonic progression. Dum beam bum beam beam bum beam ya bum bum beam bum beam ba yum bum bum, right? So there's a much greater sense of this phrase taking place. And so I want to see if you can kind of, now that we've got this ease and this relaxation, keep that, but now can you have a little bit more musical direction as we go through? Mm-hmm. As you see, sometimes when I like to do some of these teachings, I like to do this singing and dancing to kind of bring your attention to where the musical phrase is. Here it is. Just as easy, but a little bit more focused on the musical side of it. Trombone stuff, it's great. Let's forget about that. 1 and 2, boom, boom. Yeah. Boom. Bum, 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 bum. You can grow a little bit. Yum, ba. There's a progression. And yum, bum, bum, ba, yum, ba, yum, bum, bum, ba, bum. All the way to the D flat. And boom. Bum, 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 bum. You can follow the line. Bum, ba, yum, ba, yum, ba, dee, ba, da. Yum, ba, yum, da, yum, ba, dee, da, yum, ba, dum, bee, yum, bing, bing, bum, bing, bum, 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 bum. Lean into those chromatics a little more. Keep going. You're doing great. Right on the F sharp.
F sharp, yes.
Or how about the stesso tempo?
Yeah.
So on this, why this is so cool is that you can follow these chromatics a little more. Yum bum beam bee yum bum bum. Right, and that even alludes to the agogic weight that takes place in this. Right, we need to have one. By the time we get to here, we're in 2/4. Right, yum bum beam ba 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Right, and so that's what helps bring the listener across even more. Can we do that right there? Let's just some. What? Yum bim bim ba da ba ya ba ba. Ya bim bim ba. Accents. Bum 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 bim bum. There you go. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bim bum. Molto. Bim bum bim ba yum bum. Now we're getting it. It's good. Let's pause there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now you're doing a really nice job keeping that level of that ease. So as we work on these things, always try and find this level of like this foundation of simplicity, right? And we'll get to the excerpts. You'll see exactly why we do that there. But while you work on that, if you can take that, now let's go ahead and get it closer to what you were looking to do. So we can increase the tempo, but I would encourage you to do this in smaller steps rather than just getting right. Yum bum 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 bum. No. Let's get bum 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 bing bing bum bum. And I asked you to start playing the notes longer, and the reason for that was to get that kind of core resonance in your sound. Do you think it's probably too long for this etude, right?
Yeah.
So now let's see if we can keep that core resonance, but now the note length is rather than being this long, let's bring it to here.
Okay.
Boom bum bum bing. And how about mezzo forte minus? Yum bum bum bing bing bum. How about tempo 1 since we haven't gone on to the end here?
Yeah. So like little shorter, little
quieter,
little shorter, little faster.
Yes.
Just little bits.
But maintaining that ease. Like, and the reason why this is so important is because that when there's any sense of tension that takes place in the body, right? It's a sound killer. Yeah. And so when we lose that, that's why again we talked about Brian Hecht. It's like, yeah, he has that consistent sound all the time because he's literally trained himself. This is how I play all the time. Everything is easy for me. And all the great trombone players, all the great musicians for that matter. Tempo 1. Bum 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 beam beam bum bum. Right, we got this rooftop accent. Let's make sure that note is special by having a nice solid attack on it. Right there, tempo 1, 1 and 2 and 3. Here comes. Nice. I think when I pointed out at beat 1, I think what's going to help you a lot is your level of consistency is actually really nice. But now it's almost to the point where I think you need to be able to show that agogic weight a little bit more, right? Because when we get to this point, we do have it back into 3/4, right, rather than 2/4. If all the notes are just perfectly the same, it's hard to dictate that, especially on playing by yourself. That just becomes no, right? Which is fine if that's what you're focusing on. But I think we need to be past that a little bit more. So especially on something like that, the upper octave E natural, if we accidentally accent it, it feels like a downbeat, right? That kind of thing. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Let's same spot, a little faster, a little shorter, still a little bit more direction. 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah. That's awesome, man. No problem. No problem.
Let go of the valve and no recovery.
Yeah, right. No, but you kind of see how we're making this process. Actually, when you first started that one, that was really nice. We're gonna go back to the top.
Very top, yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. Still not quite tempo, but right here. And now let's rather than thinking about just bringing the dynamic down, let's transform that kind of idea from just play softer to a musical term. Like, what's an adjective that you think that would describe this that alludes to the dynamic being softer and the notes being shorter? Any word is fine.
I want to say bouncy, but I think that's like, to me, the creation is bouncy. This doesn't feel quite like that, but that's the word in my head.
Okay. You're not wrong, right? I hear it as bouncy too. The word that comes into my mind, and I forgot to mention, even the harmonic progression of this, take the harmonic, yum, bum, bum, bing, bing, bum, bum. It almost sounds like a Halloween tune to me.
Okay.
Can it be sneaky or spooky?
Okay. Yeah.
How about that? So now what happens is we take that kind of musical idea, that level of what our musical intent is, and we say, okay, I want this to be sneaky. Well, that encapsulates the harmonic progression and the note lengths and the dynamic. Okay? Can we be not full sneaky? We're still not there yet. We're still keeping that level of ease, but let's go ahead and let's see if we can add all those things and focus on the musical idea. Yum, bum, bum, bing, bing, bum, bum. Right? And something that B flat with this accent, that means something now. Yeah?
This is Halloween.
This is Halloween. I love it. Right for the top. 1 and 2. Sneak. Boom, boom. A little more crescendo through the lead. It alludes to 2/4. Good. So let's pause there for a second. I appreciate the last crescendo that you did there. Before that, we needed to have much more of a molto crescendo as it's printed. Lean in much more to those slurs. That's the first time that we've got those. Bing bum bing ba-dum bing bing ba-dum bing bing ba bing bing bum bing. And then when we get to this forte, can you maintain it? Because look what happens two bars later.
Right.
Bing ba yum bum 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 bing bum.
It's more of a debate.
Oh, I think the contrast between these two things needs to be much greater. Check this out. Let's go this test of tempo. You're still sneaky here. One bar. One and lean. Go, and Yes, and then I could even tell we were already musically there. Dum bum. Bum, bing, bing, bum. Yeah, man. And now what you've changed is you've turned this etude, just an etude, into like something that has a lot of character in there. And you did bring in a much greater sense of your accuracy and resonance within all of your notes. And you have fewer brain farts. Maybe that's just because we had more repetition through it, but I don't think so.
You know,
I think we didn't.
Lots of stuff happens.
We learned that you know, as we went through this, we didn't have to survive it. Like just get the notes. Like, oh, don't mess up. No. It's like, yeah, start down here. Practice everything slower than you think you should. You know? Yeah, man, that sounds really nice.
I think one of the issues I'm having today, it's much more pronounced than normal, but I have this like alignment issue where like I think my articulation is pretty rhythmically good, but a lot of times something, the embouchure being said, the slide position, just something is a little behind or ahead, and today it's like, now instead of a little, it's like, oh, that's bad. But
even when that happens, and that, yeah, no, I certainly understand that happens to me too. It's like while we're moving, we're driving this car, it's like if we're trying to fit it together while we're still going full speed, it's like, I mean, you might be able to do it, but the problem is if you put it together, you might have to realize that you're like, while driving the car, and it's like, well, no, why don't we just like, let's just slow it down and say, oh, that doesn't go over here, that goes there, and it goes there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cruise control's on. Okay, all right, and then you can start bumping everything up to closer to tempo. So I totally get what you're saying. It just get to that place where it's, yeah, start slower and easier than you think you need to. All right, you want to play some excerpts?
Yeah. Which one were you thinking?
Whichever one you would like for me to hear.
I guess the question is, do we want to hear something similar or completely different?
Right, because creation would be something similar.
Right, and then Schumann is like, the mood would be similar, but it's a completely different style, I think.
We could do some. Yeah, why don't we do? Did you say Rhenish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schumann 3.
Yeah, let's do that.
This is probably one of my favorite excerpts. I wish I could play it better.
Focus more on this is my favorite excerpt. Some really good stuff. Really good stuff. When we got to the solo, the second one, as we started to crescendo, do you know what happened?
It felt like it got way harsher.
Harsher? I don't know if it got harsher.
It got harsher.
It got faster.
Okay.
Was a big, a particular thing. So whenever we're, but some good stuff like all around. So what are the three most important things in at least in taking any audition, whether that's for a job, the three T's as they were.
I'm gonna say the wrong word. It's tone tuning time.
Yep, perfect. That's exactly right. And so whenever we're working on excerpts, I want to encourage you, like, make sure that you're always putting on a drone, always putting on a metronome. In this case, we're gonna put on a drum machine because I don't like metronomes. I don't think they're any fun. Just so that we can kind of make sure that everything is there. What tempo are you playing this at?
I was gonna say a slower number, but I've been informed that the principal player listening to it would hate me for it. So I think 60 to 66 is what's printed for me. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it at that.
I like Carry-On's tempo of half that.
Yeah, right.
Even
good.
when I'm playing tenor, I like it that slow. So I feel like I can say that.
Yeah. Well, it's just in that. Actually, we just did Rhenish up with the Wyoming Symphony last October. We just did it, and you're not wrong. Like everybody's entitled to have their own kind of preferences and that kind of stuff. But it's when it's in context, it's like you're sitting there, waiting for this fourth movement to show up, and it's like you're sitting there cold, and you're on, playing a tiny horn, but you're not wrong. But 60s, I think, is a good thing. So we're going to turn this on just to take care of time, so we don't even have to worry about it. Second thing that I want you to see, if you can do, is can we see if we can get a much more horizontal sense of the exhalation? All these notes you're placing actually really, really well. But if I can, sometimes I hear a sense of that's in time, right? But this kind of vertical placement, and what happens is that the backside of the note just dips ever so slightly. And so if we want it to be horizontal, we want to make sure that we fill up every single one of these notes and that it is glued together to the next one, right? So even if as I sing it, you can hear a difference. Which is going to help us when we start, figuring out the shape of the phrase, right? So a good way to work on this is, we are trombone players, are we not?
Yeah.
We do not apologize for being trombone players. Can we completely gliss this whole thing and just focus on making sure that air is there? And let's go ahead and let's also remove the double pianissimo dynamic. Let's go ahead and play this mezzo forte. We're going to do this together so you can work on, so we can establish again, this is easy for you. And we're going to see if we can glue all those notes together horizontally and let the drum machine take care of the pulse. Here it is. I'll play with you. 1, 2, gliss, gliss, gliss. Playing with me and playing mezzo forte. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in your head all at once. One more time, I want you to have a bigger sense of exhalation and strive to make this easier for you. 1, 2, easy, easy, easy. With the drum machine?
I should do it more often, like we say about everything, but
you should. Doesn't it change it?
It does, yeah.
Like, and I'm gonna put on something else. Let's do. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, I have to buy that one though. Here we go. Let's do this one. Good. Here it is. I'm gonna have you play one more time from the top. I would just want to hear this gliss connection, right? Yeah, check for any kind of sort of tension. Again, the purpose is for this to be easier for you. Here it is. Nice, full, relaxed breath. 1, 2, and boom, boom. Fantastic. Here's the full bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's okay. No, well, I know that there's a re-articulation on there. Good. But so one thing that I want you to take away from this is that when we practice these things glist, right? Mm-hmm. Again, we're trombone players. This is why we pick the instrument. Yeah. Right? And glisting for us is easy. And so as long as we're always trying to make sure that we and I encourage you practice everything glist more than you think you should, because then suddenly you
just removes a layer of
fingers. Oh yeah. And then it requires you, in order for any of us to, I mean, the air has to do its job in order for that to happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. So glisting on the instrument is a simple way to create that level of ease as you're going through it. Good. Let's add one more layer. Let's go ahead and let's be a little bit more. Let's come up with a different adjective. It's about a church, right? Yeah. How about reverent? Is that a good one? So that's going to take care of our dynamic piece, but just a little bit here. Let's go ahead and now. Do you use natural slurs? I was trying to tell. Sometimes. Sometimes. Yeah. I think that's a conversation for another day. I'd encourage you to use them whenever you can. But go ahead.
A lot of what I'm doing is I try to use all natural slurs, and then they sounded really bad. And so now I'm like a mishmash of I do the ones that sounded good when I was a senior, and now I haven't broken the habit of not doing that yet.
What you just did when you were glisting, by the way, you kept all of your natural slurs, right? Yeah. They all sounded pretty good to me. So this time, how about while we go through this, can you see if you can keep that glist air? Let me ask you, does your air know if you're glisting or not?
Shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Right. So it thinks it's still glisting. Go ahead and bring in your DAW articulation to remove the glisses. But see if you can focus on maintaining that ease in a little bit more reverent style. I'm going to keep this on. How about, let's do a different one. So it changes the mood. It's not going to sound very reverent, but it'll be fun anyway.
And then what church you go to?
Yeah, right. Right. How about this one? Here it is. 1, 2, glissy air. Yeah, horizontal. Nice. That's just an exhalation. There's nothing hard about that. Good, man. Real quick, just a couple little things on that. Make sure get that next E flat to the same level as the previous one.
Right.
Bing, bom. It's a two statements there. Good. Now that you're starting to get this horizontal connection on all these notes, be careful on this one to have the phrase go too much up as you climb, right? This one we want to make sure that everything stays there so that arrival on that E flat is so much bigger. Plus this solo that comes next does have the poco crescendo in it. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah. Do it one more time. Let's change the mood.
I don't know why, but the 4 beats before the low E flat, it's so hard to not crescendo.
Right.
It feels like it should, but it's not supposed to.
So just change your musical picture, right? So what's happening is maybe based on recording that you've heard, you hear this as D, 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 da, boom. And maybe a conductor wants that. The composer didn't write it.
Right.
So try and change your picture into your mind. So now it comes time, it becomes bom, bom, bing, bing, bom, bing, yo, ding, bom, boom. Right? So there's a little bit more weight. You can lift off of the B flat so that it feels more passante getting onto the E flat.
Yeah. To me, it's like the whole first 4.5-ish bars, 5.5-ish bars, I don't know, is like, there was I'm not going to remember the name, it was the Vienna Philharmonic Masterclass. I think you might have seen that video. And he's talking about how it's the priests and they have the robes all the way down to the floor so they look like they're floating.
Oh, that's a cool description. I haven't heard that.
So that's why it's so, like, no crescendo or anything, is because the first part is the melody, and then you're the priests, the basic priests walking across, and then the E flats are bells, like the big church bells.
I like that.
And so even with that in my head, I'm still crescendoing. It's like,
here, I'll help you.
Stop it.
I'll help you. One more time. Let's be even more reserved, a little bit more reverent. The exhalation still is the same. In its ease, I'm going to do some singing and dancing, and I'll show it. We'll see if we can get this to that other side with the church bells. Oh no, I said I was going to change it. Let's do this one. Yeah, this will be different. Here it is. 1, 2, relaxed breath. On, we have no issues of time. I want to encourage you, as you work on these things, always turn on something like that, because then we don't have to worry about it. And through your repetitions, right, you start learning how all of these notes relate to each other. Yeah, it's like you said, it's one of those simple things where you feel like you should do it more, but you're not sure why you don't.
There's so much stuff like that. Like everything.
Maybe rather than saying I should do all of these things, you come up with 10 different things that you should be doing. Well, just start with one.
Right.
Right? And by the way, that's why this isn't a metronome. I hate them. Beep, beep, beep. This is easy. Right? Let's do work on another excerpt. What else you got?
I think Reingold.
All right, that sounds awesome. Something a little different.
But still long and connected.
Yes.
Just way louder.
Yeah, go for it.
This is a weird one where I'm like, I think I should play it louder. Because I know in context this has, I mean, every person that has bass in their instrument is playing this all unison or in octaves. And so I'm like, well, in an orchestra you probably don't actually have to play it that loudly. during audition, they see
They probably
double
want us
forte,
to.
and they say that's not double forte.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think that's one of those where it's like, you just kind of have to pick one and hope the committee agrees.
Right. Well, I think it's possible for you to do all those things.
Right.
You're exactly right. We can work towards making sure that there's, it can be fuller. It can have kind of like the Rhenish, right? We can have a much more sense of glue behind these notes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If it's a little, and that's what's going to give you a little bit more of that sense of intensity and louder sound is if the integrity of the sustain goes through the notes like this, right? Whatever recording you're listening to in your mind, or even you've watched somebody like perform it, do they sustain the crap out of these notes? Right? Yeah. And so that's even where a lot of your power and volume, yes, decibels, but more of the power is going to come from is through the integrity of the sustain. And right now we have that same kind of idea where we're dipping just ever so slightly. So, like we learned from Rhenish, what's a good way to work on that?
I'm not doing this slower.
We're not going to go slower, but we are going to glisten.
Right.
And this one's a good one to make sure that our pitch is correct, right? So we're going to turn on a drone. Can you glisten? Breathe wherever you have to, but let's start with just about some forte. Okay? Here it is. 1, 2.
With it cued more or less.
Practice it with. Mm-hmm. So that way you have the idea of if they want it, you're already used to playing it. It's always easier to take something out. Yeah, practice it with it.
Most of it, it's like every edition I've seen, including like Doug Yao, is like, don't.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure they have very valid reasons.
Right.
It will serve you greatly to practice it, especially practicing a pedal F, is that dynamic?
It's easy.
Yeah. Let's see if we can play it even fuller. Okay? I need bigger inhalation, more movement of air through the instruments, and again, if you need to breathe more, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the point. Here it is. We're going to split the difference between the last time. Here it is. Nice and full. 1, 2. as written. Now we practice really moving some of that good air. Good. I want to encourage you on a lot of these things, especially on something like this. Practice it. Practice as incrementally build up like we did, right? The first thing I didn't ask you to go, great, play it as loud as you can, right?
Right.
It's like, no, we took steps because, again, we're trying to cultivate that ease as we go through this. Once you get to this point, you should practice this pretty consistently as full and as loud and connected as you possibly can. And so the idea is that if you start expanding your comfort bubble this way, then when it comes time for the audition, you go, well, I'm going to play it right here. That's going to sound pretty good, knowing that you have this extra there, right? Let's go one more time from the beginning. Go ahead, nice full forte, sustain like the Dickens through these notes. Here it is. 1, 2, 2. Beat 2 and last 2 notes. Nice and full. Yeah, man. All right, talk to me about that versus the first time that you played.
I was right. The F is easy.
Yes, yeah. Don't shy away from that, right?
Yeah. It feels a little.
And that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it feels better for sure. It's like, even though, like Doug Yao has a bunch of breaths written in it, I'm taking most of them, and I'm already adding more. I feel like I'm limiting myself based on the breaths that I've already written in, more so than just saying, breathe more.
Even this idea of, that's why I encourage you to breathe as much as you needed to, right? And as you start practicing it fuller, where you are using more air, you'll start getting used to taking breaths necessary for that. And yeah, breathe wherever you need to right now. But then over time, you'll start to become more efficient with the fuel that you're using. And so then when you do bring it back here, you'll be able to sustain and come up with a much more specific game plan, right? Everything that we talked about today was not about, like, if you do this, this, and this, you'll be perfect today.
Yeah.
It's about this process of making sure that it's like, no, let's come up with a very specific plan in order to cultivate these good habits that are going to yield results. And so I asked you, how did that sound versus the first guy? That sounded much more solid to me in terms of your pitch, in terms of your connections of all of your notes and the evenness across your sound. I was like, oh yeah, that's, if I was on an audition committee, that'd be somebody that I'd want to hear more of, because it's like, yeah, no, I think I can play on top of that. Sounds great, man. Unfortunately, I got to make a hard stop because I do have another lesson that I'm going to do now. Otherwise, I would keep going with you.
Sure, no problem.
But yeah, man, thank you for doing this for me.
For the free lesson.
Yes.